Greetings and salutations. It is I, Justin Hawkins. It's not Justin Hawkins at all. Russ Kane. This is Men's Radio Station. This is groundbreaking, award-nominating, the ABC of CBD. It's so weird to me how 6 o'clock on a Thursday keeps running round. It's almost like it's weekly. This is show, I don't know, like 95 or something. It's unbelievable. We'll plan something big for the 100th. I have no idea what it is. But we'll think of something brilliant. Anyway, enough from me. Time to bring on the hunk of hemp, the Maharaja of marijuana, the Count of cannabinoids. He is, of course, Mr. Oliver Mammon.
What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Very excited for today's show.
That's the screaming. And what are you wearing? What is that
It's a
t-shirt?
shirt.
No, I can't see. What is it, though?
It's a blue denim shirt.
No, I can see the denim, but what's underneath it?
So this is my bear.
Oh, okay. It's California bear, which is the bear is the
little COVID mask.
The bear is wearing a COVID. Yeah, of course it is.
He's wearing a bandana.
Yeah, who doesn't? Let's be honest.
Exactly. How are you, Russell? How's your week been?
I'm, as I say to everybody, I am still here, gang.
How's the hand?
Not good. Let's pay the rent.
I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD. A product created by users for users. A product at an affordable price, available everywhere, at any time, at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil. No additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service. The cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
I love that tune. It's catchy. Sometimes I just wander around my home doing that. And always, when I open an Amazon parcel, I give the same look of wonder and excitement as the fellow in your advert.
Love that.
It is. Anyway, you've got a special guest. You're overexcited, so let's crack on, mister.
Should I do my introduction?
I would love you to do yours.
Fine.
I'd love you to do yours.
So, first of all, episode 95.
95.
Freaking awesome. I can't
isn't it
away
incredible?
from 100.
Well done, you. That's what I say.
Who?
Well done, you.
Me? Us?
Yes.
Well done, you, for putting up with me. Dude, you could have got rid of me ages ago. I don't know how you let me stay on the air.
Why would I do that?
You own the radio station. You're insane.
I do own the radio station. But you are like the grit in my oyster that produces a pearl. Speaking of a pearl, Eve Phantom. I wonder how she speaks. She probably goes, "Hello, you lovely lot." Hello,
my name's Eve.
You think she lives like in Transylvania? She probably lives in Transylvania.
Eve. What's up, Eve? How you doing, sweetheart?
And she is the lady that you sent the bath bombs to and thought they were fantastic. I was mentioning it last week with your guest, and it was Eve, in fact, who thought your products were brilliant.
I love her. So let's get back on with the show, because this guest is awesome, and he's like literally, I just want to give him as much time as possible. So, but yeah, Russ, thank you for the last 95 weeks. All right, I have the last word.
It's only 95 weeks.
It's only 95 hours of my life.
95 hours in each other's company.
Exactly. So a couple of months back at Product Earth, I was sitting at the.
Hang on, I got to look. Hang on, this is a happy. I'm sorry, this is a happy customer. Now the bath bombs. It was indeed need to reorder.
Send me address. I'll send you stuff.
There you go.
Just carry on singing my praises.
Camper.
You can pay with love. It's all good. So a couple of months ago, back at Product Earth, I was at the what's it called? The conference, part of the conference. You know, where they were actually speaking. There was like I don't know what they call it, the stage. Do you know what I mean? There were like a few different talks going on, a few different panels, a few different experts speaking about different things. And I heard something that immediately took my interest. It was the voice of this dude. His name's Dr. Taz. So professionally known as Dr. Tahzid Ahsan. Okay, he is a consultant psychiatrist based out of Manchester, currently specializing in medical cannabis. Now, as we're about to see, his energy, his enthusiasm, his relatively loose tongue were really like a breath of fresh air, combined with a true understanding of the structure in place in the UK medical cannabis market. Dr. Taz really did identify the strengths of the current market and the weaknesses in a very honest way. It was quite lovely to hear a doctor talk about, you know, medical cannabis in quite a
Positive way.
Like a positive way, exactly, and a less restrictive way. I feel like there's always been a lot of restrictive, but there was more. All right, there was more than that. There was an emotionally charged connection to this plant, which you're about to see and you're about to hear, and to this industry that I actually have not heard from any other practicing doctor or not a practicing doctor I've spoken to in some time. You have like the Professor Mike Barnes, but he's more on the, he's more in the building a structure and like a medical representative as opposed to being an actual practicing doctor. He does, but it's less that and more. He's more old school. He's been doing this for 35 years, and you've got like Dr. like Rebecca Moore, who was unbelievable as well. But once again, like she was still like Rebecca Moore was quite proper. Do you know what I mean? Like she was quite like she believed in cannabis, and it was quite beautiful to hear her her sentiments on how cannabis and mental health. There is no correlation. But in reality, her viewpoint is still quite professional.
What you meant by let me leap in. What you meant by that, just for clarification, is that there was no connection between the detriment of one's mental health and the use of cannabis.
Exactly. Sorry.
That's all right.
And there was also like, but once again, she was incredible when she came on. She's an incredible doctor in the space. But when you listen to Taz, you're going to hear this like emotional understanding, this empathy with the end consumer and the patient. Like there was this like bottom up perspective that I haven't actually heard from many other doctors. He seemed to really understand the patient, and when he was talking, there was something there which just kind of gripped me. As a patient myself, there was something there which was just like, all right, there's something there. The dude's got.
I'm going to keep doing this because I like it.
So we have a lot of vocal practitioners in this space, some of which have an open, logical narrative on views, and others seem a bit more contrived, but they all come with some sort of emotional restriction. They're still doctors at the end of the day, and doctors will always be like quite emotionally reserved. They very rarely put their
head above the parapet.
Exactly. Most doctors for self-preservation practice most doctors for self-preservation, they exude some form of self-control. I don't know if it's like a fear about breaking the current narrative, but most of the doctors we've even had on, they're kind of, they won't step over the mark.
They're in very pretty uncharted and quite choppy waters, if I can use another analogy.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really, and I empathize with them.
You don't really want them to be. It would be rare for them to be screaming from the rooftops, yeah, this is great and everybody else is wrong. So I can understand that their slight reservation. I get that.
But then also, I also empathize with them because they're in a whole new world, and no one knows no one knows if they're going to get stricken off for speaking out or for doing anything. Dr. Taz is something else. Right? When you're about to meet him, it's like there's no transparency. Everything he speaks seems to come from his heart and soul. There's no like regurgitation. There's none of this using other doctors' words in order to kind of stay within the confines of someone else's narrative, which is safe, and just repeating what other doctors are saying. He really does speak from a place of, you could call it, understanding. And he's got hundreds or if not thousands of patients. So he's done something very special. There's no systematic paraphrasing when he talks. There's no regulated or narrativized thought. What he speaks is really like, it's almost like listening to one of us speak, one of us people from within.
I can only apologize in advance.
Anyway, so
should we bring him on?
Yeah, bring him on, definitely.
Why don't we bring him on?
I apologize, by the way, guys. I've had a bit of a frazzling day, so if I seem not with, I keep on getting these little moments.
Ollie, let me stop you. This is a station that we formed about mental health and well-being. The last thing ever you have to do to me or to our viewers and listeners all over the world is apologize. It's not the BBC. We're not Holly and Phil, because we care. So you don't have anything to apologize for. Just bear that in mind. It's important.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Taz.
Hi, how you doing, guys? How you doing?
Hi, Doctor.
Thank you for the really lovely introduction. That was thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Well, I was going to just cut on, don't apologize for anything, because, you should not apologize for anything.
Well, 100%. His hair.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
His hair. Come on, be honest with me. Come on.
Well, and his beard.
It's taken me 10 years to do this, guys.
Is that how long it's taken?
Yes, I thought.
Wow.
Let's not talk about how much time I've wasted growing my hair.
No, it's not wasted. It looks great. It looks great. I'm just wow. Okay, all right, there we go.
So when I met you at Product Earth, I'm not joking. Your words really captivated me. There was something there. As soon as you came off stage, I came straight up to you and I was like, "Bro, Ollie, nice to meet you." And that was basically it. And like, I feel like we've spoken a few times since then. I feel like. Once again, I haven't actually said this to another doctor. I feel like you're on my wavelength. And it's quite strange because I come from this, it's a different side of the industry. And it's quite nice to know that there are doctors who are on our wavelength. And, after speaking to you, seeing how you've educated yourself, seeing what you're doing to disseminate information across your industry and what you're doing to immerse yourself in education across your industry, really kind of made me I don't know, just take a second and pause and almost think if I haven't said it and just say thank you, because it's doctors like you who will make the difference. And I've always said this, there needs to be some form of energy combination between, a doctor's right to help and a patient's want to be helped. And you seem to encapsulate that quite beautifully. And I felt like that's what I kind of saw when I saw you on stage. It was like, all right, he could be someone who actually makes a difference. So I want to say, first of all, thank you very much for joining the show. I'm really happy to have you on. So let's start. Let's just start. Let's talk about. So you're a practicing psychiatric doctor. Okay, you've been doing that for 20 years. Let's talk a little bit about that industry. Like when did you start? How did you start? What were you taught about cannabis when you first entered that space? Let's talk a bit about that background.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First of all, I just want to say really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on today.
Our pleasure at all.
No worries. I mean, just going back to med school, no one mentioned the endocannabinoid system. Not even, it didn't exist. Well, obviously we know it existed, but didn't exist in the medical world. Went through med school, did GP training, still, not even heard of it. But there was always a group that would chastise, that were placed in a derogatory label, oh, they're cannabis users. And that was in med school, that was in, throughout. And funnily enough, the people that use medical cannabis, they're the ones who passed all of them. But that's a different story altogether. Then went through nothing. Went into psychiatry training after GP training. That, did that for throughout the uni. You said 9 years, or to be a consultant almost, or 7 or 8 years, nothing. And then the first, you hear over the last 10 years, obviously there's grumblings from Canada, USA, they're well ahead. Cannabis, that's where all the information came from. But at the same time, USA, because it wasn't quite medical cannabis, it was recreational, it's still kind of chastised. And in the recreation, so it's never, but the first time I heard about medical cannabis was, I was a training day coordinator for my consultant training colleagues. So, and we had this massive gathering. It was one of the more, it was that all the consultant psychiatry staff, all the psychiatry trainees that were going to be consultants, 150 potential consultants there. And this was a big kind of event, and we had to get a coup. I had to get someone big. And I thought, I'll try and get Professor David Nutt. And I emailed him, and amazingly, he replied within 5 minutes. And he said, he'll come down. And we had a chat, obviously, and he talked about what he's going to do. And he said, I'm going to talk about, because obviously trainees, we're going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of psychiatry. I was like, wow, it's amazing. So he came on, rocked the show, amazing. He talked about so many things. One thing he talked about was he talked about medical cannabis as the future of psychiatry. And I remember, because he mentioned that, and you could hear grumblings of all the little grumblings for all this. Because I was there carrying it, I saw it all. And he talked about it, and that was the first time he actually someone showed me something. And the one thing that I remember that he said to me, and then he moved on within 5 minutes, he says, well, they have found the endocannabis system has a modulating role on most other systems in the human body. And I was like, okay, yeah, what? Modulate? That's a big word in medical terms. He meant that it has a massive overarching controlling effect from top down, not like medications that go from serotonin and, you know, cause cascading problems. That's the main issue with medications. It has a top down effect, so it has a really naturalized, and that's why everything, when people take medical cannabis or cannabis, it has that kind of effect, that it has that profound effect, whether that's immediate or later. So anyway, I spoke to, I remember after the lecture, I spoke to Professor David Nutt, and obviously we spoke to him, and I talked to him, and we spoke about medical cannabis briefly, and he was saying that there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. Obviously, he was doing his LSD thing, that was his main thing, but he was looking at medical cannabis, and he was looking at setting up, you know, changing the laws. Professor Mike Barnes, you know, this was in 2017, roughly. So anyway, that was fine. You know, didn't really looked into it. There wasn't really much, obviously nothing in the UK, and it was still bad, you know. So didn't really look into this very much after that. And then back in was it November, or was it like 2019? There was an incidental newspaper I read, or I think it might have been the BBC News, where it's not talking about Hannah Deacon, the mother of Alfie and Mike Barnes, and how the laws change all of a sudden. I was like, oh wow, that's absolutely incredible. But obviously, didn't really know what that meant, to be honest. But then, how I got into it, like finally, it was I think it was 2020. I heard that the TMCC, the medical cannabis clinic that I currently work for, or do, you know, they were opening up their first ever medical cannabis clinic in Manchester, just down the road from where I am, like in Wilmslow, you know. So I was like, yes, I'm getting on board. You know, I'm like, yes, it's an opportunity. That's when I started, but I didn't really know how to get them, so I called them, and that's when I called up TMCC, and that's how I kind of joined. So it was completely my own mission, and it was incidental, amazing kind of opportunities, amazing meetings, amazing discussion. And Professor David Nutt, he pretty much, he's my hero. You know, I speak to him so often. He's a legend. He's the one who's actually changed so much from 2010 onwards. And he's like the grandfather of, to me, he's like the godfather of holistic medication, like LSD, MDMA. He opened the door for that. But the real godfather is Mike Barnes. So that's, you know, of medical cannabis. So I just want to make sure I delineate that a little bit.
Everyone gets their due respect. He knows. But no, listen, Professor Nutt is literally like he's like the trailblazer. It's almost like, you know, you give him an illegal compound.
What he said in 2010. You remember what he said in 2010?
Go on, remind me.
You know, basically, he was on the drug advisory board, right? So he was on the government drug advisory board. He was like top notch. Well, he said quite truthfully, quite correctly, because the statistics say this. He said, because of this hoo-ha about MDMA, ecstasy, and then there was all the, I think it was all like methadone. I don't know, this I can't remember what it's called. The legal highs that were coming out back then. But basically, and there was just that, you know, whenever stuff like this happens, there's always that political, you know, oh my God, you know, like that whole shebang, basically. But Professor David Nutt, he's brave. He said, hold on, people die every year of horse riding than people taking ecstasy in the UK. He was a straight fact. Oh my God. Got kicked out of our government board, got to label this, lid that. Oh my God, he got labeled, and then he went, right, not taking this, and then he did LSD.
It wasn't a brilliant. I'm sorry, it wasn't a brilliant thing to say.
I think it was a genius thing.
I think it wasn't. Obviously, Professor David Nutt, when you know him, when you meet him,
No. I don't care who he is. It's not. Well, we know who he is. We've done this for 95 weeks, but I don't think responsibly that was a genius thing to say.
I think no. I think he challenged the status quo. I get
all that.
I think it needed to be said. I personally think it needed to be said.
Yeah, but
it needed to be said. Professor Nutt,
I get all that.
Usually says it.
I get all that.
It needed to be said because it actually changed. It brought that. No, what happened was He knew what he was saying. He knows what he's doing, and he brought the conversation into the forum. Yes, it was bad publicity, but it actually brought. And that discussion, if it wasn't for that discussion, it wouldn't have led to now the medical cannabis right now. I don't think it would, and I think things happen for a reason, and that was meant to happen. And I would 100. And yeah, I don't know, in point reflection, he might right now say, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." But I'd tell him if he was here, I'd say, "No, Professor, no. You did what you needed to do, and I congratulate you for that." That's what I think, anyway. But hey, I'm not radio
love this doctor. I love him.
Sorry. By the way, everybody, when you're listening all around the world, the connection with the doc is not great. It is a little bit patchy. You will see of his screen freezing slightly, and I'm not getting every word, nearly every word. Ollie seems fine, but your connection is not 100%. So please bear with us.
Sorry.
It's okay. It happens, man. It happens. So I got a question. Before you entered this space, what were your thoughts on cannabis? Like being a trained psychiatrist, personally experiencing, not thinking about the world around you, actually thinking about the patient in front of you. What was your actual thought on cannabis? Like, were you pro? Were you against? Were you indifferent?
I always... So let me just tell you a story. Yeah?
Honest truth. Honest truth. We're not going to hold you against it. You've seen the light now. If you lived in the darkness for a few years, you lived in the darkness for a few years. Russ lived in the darkness. He's now seen the light. It happens to everyone.
Yeah, honest truth. I remember back in uni, right? There was we were just doing our finals, and in the finals there was 20 people in the whole year were going to fail, and everyone was worried. Everyone was panicking. And then basically for that whole month, yeah, people were putting bets on who's going to fail. And basically all the cannabis smokers were on there, number one from top down. But guess what? They all passed. And that shocked me. I was like, what? It shocked. We were shocked. I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked. I thought cannabis
because everything you've heard is that cannabis...
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything, it ruined you. It did all these things, everything that the stigma that was created back in the 30s and 50s, all that was there. It was really rife, but that shocked me a little bit. But anyway, I didn't really think about anything a bit. And obviously, people, you meet people, a lot of cannabis smokers, and obviously you're a doctor, so you can't be associated with them and stuff like that. So I'll be honest, I do feel quite guilty just reflecting on my own behaviors towards certain people and certain and this is cannabis is pertinent to my own upbringing in a way, because I grew up in an area in Manchester where it was quite rough, right? And there was a lot of stuff going on, and cannabis was kind of part and parcel of the kind of economy in that area, and there was a lot of stuff that went on. So I was always kind of kept away and stuff like that. But there was friends that I feel guilty or ashamed for ignoring because of that association, and actually they were good people and they're doing good now. So the people that were drinking alcohol, taking cocaine and all these things, they're in jail. So, it's just, I do feel guilty, and I do feel quite ashamed by, and even now, because even now.
Yeah, there's a Twitter quote which you made. I'm sorry to throw Twitter into this. I actually don't use Twitter that much, but there's a quote which I saw from you. It says, "With one cannabis flower, I have treated people with depression, anxiety, autism, ADHD, PTSD, insomnia, and more. For 20 years, I was shamefully oblivious to the truth, but now I have seen the benefits." Okay. So first of all, yeah, how does that feel? And is it hot? It sounds very, I thought I'd bring that up because the fact that you even admitted it, it's such a, I read it. I was like, good on him. Good on, not just say, cannabis is different now. Medical cannabis and recreational cannabis are different. Medical cannabis is fine. There's been a lot of excuses as to why cannabis is accepted. Well, at least now we know it's clean. You haven't said anything like that. What you said is, with one cannabis flower, I've done X, Y, and Z. For 20 years, I was shamelessly oblivious to the truth, but now I've seen the benefits. And you haven't made a separation. You haven't made any excuses as well, which is quite beautiful because, a lot of the doctors who are jumping on the bandwagon is, well, now we have the research. Or, but now we know better. But that's almost like you were very anti before, and you've just gone the switch. I mean, it's harder to believe. At least you're admitting the fact that there was almost wool over your eyes. What was it that actually made the coin flip? Was it the legalization? Was it Hannah Deacon's story? Is there something more personal that happened?
Professor David Nutt, when I invited him, he talked about the endocannabis study, and he showed that image of controlled hours, and that's when I started looking into it. See, that time, only a few years ago, there was there is a lot of information, and only over the last 10, 15 years they've been able to really look into it. But the endocannabis system is extremely complicated, but what they know is it has a massive role on the peripheral nervous system and the central nervous system. And when he showed that, it is quite unbelievable. I mean, I wish I had the image here, but as a doctor, I couldn't believe it. And that's when it went, right, okay, if this has a modulating role, if this has such an important role, I need to learn about it. It's as if someone showed you something that is like you've not known about, but you're going to learn about it. So I went in depth, and that's when I was really ready. That's when I really went from studying, really looking into it and in depth, and then waiting for the moment to go to the clinic. Really.
I get that. You got anything to ask, Ross?
At the moment, I'm looking up all the Twitter content, as a matter of fact.
He does a lot of social media.
I can see that.
No, I'm not on Twitter. I think you read my article that I wrote on Cannabis Health News, but maybe someone put that on Twitter.
Someone put it on Twitter. But I just saw it and I was like, I like that quote. So your personal transition from one side of the fence to the other, from a standard practicing psychiatrist to being now a psychiatrist who specializes in cannabis medication. How has the journey been? Did you get a lot of pushback from colleagues in your space as you have come up the ranks?
First and foremost, I think coming into medical cannabis has completely knocked my ego to the side.
In what way?
I'm going to just so as a psychiatrist, consultant, especially as a consultant psychiatrist, there is a hell of a lot of power that I have. Hell of a lot of power. First of all, as a consultant psychiatrist, the society has given me permission to take away your liberties. Potentially, I can section you, I can put you up and do a lot of things. If society labels you with a specific mental illness that is affecting society in a way, you are a risk to society. That's when I get involved, and something might have happened to you, but genuinely, and you're genuinely angry and pissed off about it, and you might have gone, and you might have gone a bit, but ultimately I can say, yeah, you've got an illness, and I can put you in a section 2, and I can say to you, you don't have capacity. I can say to you that you don't have.
I'm sorry, your line is dropping so badly here,
but
Doc.
It's so interesting what you're saying.
Did you just say?
You can say to me.
Sorry, I don't know what someone's using my internet, but anyway.
Is there any way? I'm so sorry, because what you're saying is important stuff, but we want to hear it, but it's a little bit frustrating because we're not getting every word. Is there any way I could take you off for a little bit? You could get whoever's using your internet, tell them to stop, because it's clearly taking up your bandwidth. So why don't I
let me just see if I can just switch off my Wi-Fi. Just give me a second. I'm just going to switch my Wi-Fi.
It's really interfering with the flow of the conversation and the questions that Ollie is asking you.
And also what he's saying is so pertinent. I mean, like, this is like...
No, it is. It's weird. Yesterday I had another
so much better.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's so much better.
That's infinitely better. Thanks very much.
So, like you were saying, so being a practicing psychiatrist, you have a range of powers. Now, those powers can be, if I was to get angry and smash down a wall, you can turn around and say that I have a specific illness, label me, and then you can
just put you in, and then feed you medications and keep asking you, and then saying that you don't have any insight, and literally take your liberties away. Now, the reason why obviously when you're training as a consultant and stuff, it's almost, I won't say, it's almost like the power, you're waiting for the power, you're waiting for that, like as a consultant, wow, it's like, now you don't obviously think that as you're trying to do best for the patient, but that is something that is, I don't know, you wait to be a section 12 approved where you can I don't know what it is, but there's something about that, and I think if someone Yeah.
I've
Maybe I should be saying any of this.
It's very honest. It's very honest.
Weird. I've had even yesterday, and he's coming back as a regular guest, a forensic psychiatrist. I've never, and I've had a lot of guys who can do what you do.
Would
I've
they
never heard
ever
them say
admit it
that
though,
before.
Russ? Would anyone ever
Well,
admit that?
Well,
I don't think anyone would
way-
ever admit that. That's
I'm
why I
not
think
sure
he's pure transparent. Do you know what I said in my introduction? You have this purely transparent dude.
Ollie, I understand that. I'm trying to ask a question here. And my question is this. Of all the psychiatrists that we've had, I've never, ever had one on any of the shows where they said they couldn't wait to get the power.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's an achievement. It's like as a consultant.
No, I get the idea.
It's all very subconscious.
You've worked hard, but
it's very subconscious
of you getting the power.
It is power. It is complete power. That's what I'm saying. When I started medical cannabis, it's a complete switch off. First of all, you guys know much more than me and any doctor, all the patients that I've been seeing medical cannabis, they know so much that you're like, I was clashing with I was like, what I know, but I haven't got a clue. We had like a whole list of meds from the thing. None of them were like, I remember we just had, and I had to ask someone like, what do you prescribe for this? And there was actually no information. I had 1 day training with Mike Barnes, but that's it. And then basically we left our own devices, and patients were talking to me in flowers like, oh, this or that, or gelato, or this or that. And I was like, what's no, Chiron 3, 2, 22, 1, and so there was just a whole language.
Sorry, I'm not
let me
following.
explain. Doctor, let me stop. So
patients,
basically, medical cannabis users,
patients were talking to me about, like, obviously there's all the flowers have got different names, right? They're using strain names, cultivar names like, Gorilla Glue and all these things. And on our thing, they don't have cultivar names. It's all like the name of the company, the percentage of THC, T22C1, and then basically how many grams. So you didn't really know what the names were or what the cultivar was.
Taz, let me explain this to Russ. So Russ, what you have is when you're buying cannabis on the street, like most people have done, or when you're buying cannabis seeds online to grow them, or when you're participating in any form of recreational system, which is majority of systems around the world, different types of cannabis are named based on their names. So like you'll have your Skittles and your gelato and your marmalade and your grape ape, and you have these different strain names which help.
What is gelato?
They're just names. They're
gelato. Gelato is quite famous in New York. Well, they're not names because they actually
they're strains. They're names of strains. But I'm trying to simplify it for us, not overcomplicate it. Taz, give me a second. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the same way you've got your Johnny Walker Blue and your Johnny Walker Black and your like Jack Daniels and your Gordon's Gin, you have different names of strains. You have different names of alcohol. In the medical system, there are no strains, there are codes. So there's code 0163721. Now, no one knows what 0133721 is. They'll never know. And no one will ever be able to identify a strain based on that. So you've got patients coming in with a certain understanding and knowledge, but the system itself is prescribing plants without having, the face that everyone recognizes, without having the branding that everyone recognizes, without having the identifying characteristics in a name which someone could identify. And that's the issue. So Dr. Taz is saying that when a patient comes into him, the patient has got a larger understanding, a wider understanding of what cannabis products might work for them, what strains might work for them. And Dr. Taz is looking at a sheet of potential prescribable cannabis-based products, but all of these products on the sheet are numerical or alphabetized as opposed to...
Got it.
But things are different now. That was at the very beginning. Now things are different because I've created not me, but I'm involved with a website called MedBud Wiki, which is like it was created by a medical cannabis patient, and me and him work together. And so basically that is an independent site. It's www.medbud, MEDBUD, WIKI. That's an independent site, nothing to do with any clinical pharmacy, but it's got all this all the cultivar names or the percentages, the terpene profiles. The most important part of cannabis is terpenes. And if you understand that or not, but there's the smells that, limonene, which is citrus, limonene, which is lavender, pinene, pine, mycene, beta-carotene, which are spicy, tangy flavors. But actually, it's the cultivar names that define.
etc.
Yeah, there's so many. It's the cultivar names that define the ratio of the terpenes, and that's what defines the character of each cultivar flower. So so it's not just about the THC and CBD, which is important, but the THC, then there's a sativa indica. So sativa is energy giving, so indica is energy reducing, and then you can hybrid them, mix them together, and you get different effects. And the THC and CBD give either the energy giving, which is sativa, or energy reducing power or influence, and then you've got the entourage effect where all the terpenes act together. So that's what gives each flower unique effects, and you can change the power of effect of each flower or what they do by changing the sativa indica percentages, ratios, and also THC CBD.
So that's the main. For a second, Doctor, can I pause you? I want to go back.
Yes,
I just want to go back. I want to go back quickly. So you said that originally you started off, and sorry to go back into this. I'd have to do this because it's quite important. So when you first got your degree, you were waiting for that power. All right. Very honest, quite lovely to hear. I can actually understand it. I can understand it from your perspective. Russ is thinking this is not right.
It's quite intoxicating.
Yeah, but I get it. I get it. Like that whole. It's like if you're a health environment officer and you can shut a restaurant down, and that restaurant it delivers your order late, you're going to shut them down. Do you mean I get that? You have that power, and you're calling me like, bro, I can shut them down.
So somebody pisses you off. No, that's a terrible example.
I have no power. I have zero power with anything I do because I know it wouldn't work well.
But your example is if somebody pisses you off, you shut their business down, not based on whether it's hygienic or not.
I understand I'm not saying you should do it.
You can't use that as an analogy if you're dealing with somebody's liberty, can you?
I knew you were going to jump down my throat for starting.
Well, obviously, I'm an ex-lawyer.
Hold on. Fine. So what I wanted to say is why did that stop? You could still turn around to patients and be like, you have to take this, you have to take that. You can be a homeowner. You could be one of those, very, very.
It made me realize. Made me
you could be a dictator doctor if you wanted to. I was actually thinking Dick Doc, but actually, to be honest with you, dictator doctor works. You could have been one of those dictator doctors, the same way that a lot of psychiatrists.
A lot out there, yeah.
Yeah, but first of all, why was there a change? Why was there a change? Why have you dropped the power? Why have you dropped the ego? Why have you become humbled? And also, do you prefer it on this side of the industry? Do you prefer not having that power anymore?
First of all, is the patients that changed. The medical cannabis patients that I've been seeing for the last 2 years. I've got a caseload of, I've seen about 1,500 or 2,000 patients or something like that. But it's the medical cannabis patients that changed me. Because,
and how?
Like I said, I was clashing with the patient. I didn't know why, and basically, there was, I didn't know anything, and I was trying to put this facade, like, oh, I'm the doctor, I'm the consultant, I don't need you to tell me. But I was like Googling it. What the heck did he say? What was he going on? What was he saying? So, and then I started. So there's that. For what 3-4 years, I'm like a consultant, whatever. I have to take control. And my normal day job is working on an NHS ward where I've got 22 patients. I've got a massive team. I have to take control. I have to make decisions. So that kind of, and then going into this where I have no knowledge, no idea, and patients know more than me. That first of all had to recognize that, and to recognize that is a complete power shift, because usually in a doctor-patient relationship, I tell you, you can tell me whatever you need to tell me. I decide what condition you have. I decide what your treatment pathway is, and it's usually one tablet, and I tell you you're going to take it at this dose at this time. And if you don't take it, then I label you as non-compliant. That means bad patient, and then I can put you to one side and I'd send you back to your GP or whatever it is I need to do. I can do that, and I've got power to label you and whatever it is. And basically, and if you don't take the medication, even if you've got side effects, it doesn't matter if you've got all these side effects. You've taken my tablet, that means your depression is gone because you're taking an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety. So in the whole society framework, it's all great, hunky-dory. Complete opposite in many. I didn't know any, there's all these flowers and stuff patients are telling me. So basically, what I'm trying to say, I had to really listen, but not listen like, just basically stay silent and write down everything that the patient is saying, because it's all gold, right? That's what I had to realize. And then I started realizing things like insight. What is insight? We talk about insight with patients. Oh, patients doesn't have insight. But what is insight? It's me deciding what is relevant, and then your whatever. If it doesn't match with my saying, then you don't have insights or capacity to make decisions for your own treatment. Now, I can say no. Capacity is something that someone loses, and I take it away from you. Yeah, that's a definition of capacity. Like capacity to make decisions, understanding, retaining, weighing up, and communicating. Those are the 4 main features of capacity in mental health or mental health law. And I can just take it away. I can just say, right, here you go, capacity, and that is a major thing. And I didn't even realize I was doing that willy-nilly, or not willy-nilly, but I do really think, step back, whoa, step back here, really. Now I wasn't thinking before. Let me just finish off capacity. Before, I wasn't thinking someone's lost capacity, and he wasn't thinking that, or I'm taking it away. I was thinking that, they didn't have it in the first place. Do you know what I mean? So it's different. That's that. So I'm now.
Doc, do you still think that some of, because here's the thing, it's very different from us on an outside perspective and you inside the system. Like, do you think this is common amongst do you reckon this is a common mindset? As in, I know it's really hard. It's really hard because I'm also sitting here thinking, this is quite mental. Do you know what I mean? I'm literally thinking, I've never thought about a doctor's role in that way before. And I've also never heard a doctor break it down the way you've broken it down. I mean, like it's so honest. It's like, and there's nothing wrong with what you said. It's just very honest. And it is true. It's a little bit like police have the power to arrest someone. And if they don't, if someone puts up a fight, then that person is resisting arrest. So if a policeman wanted to arrest you and you said, well, you've got no right to arrest me, and the policeman then continues, he could theoretically arrest you for resisting arrest. So there's always something down the line, even if you've actually never done anything wrong in the first place. And when you try and run, you're running from an officer. Well, the officer tried to arrest me. Well, why did he try and arrest you? I don't know. Well, if you had listened to the officer, maybe you wouldn't have got arrested. But in reality, what you want to do is arrest you in the first place. And there are certain individuals in this industry who in our economy, in our society, who have power. I've never thought about it before with doctors. And it's brutally honest for you to come out and say that. Now, when you go back into your NHS job, has it changed the way you think?
100%, yeah, 100%. Not think, but obviously, think. Obviously, yeah, think.
Has it made you? So the bottom line with this is, has it made you better, more efficient, more empathetic, or less efficient and railing against the system?
Well, in psychiatry, I don't know what efficiency means. I suppose you're going to discharge people less. So, I suppose that's what NHS want. They want people to be discharged quicker.
Of course they do.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, they want more.
That didn't really change, because actually, first of all, it knocked my ego. That needs to happen. I had to really reflect on all this and really change the way I come across and the way I. It's definitely opened up my empathy, and now I make sure that I don't because it changed. I just try and listen, be patient, and breathe in. Just lots of different things. I really try and meditate when people are talking to me, especially distressed patient in front of me, and sometimes I don't even really say anything for 10 minutes until they've really cried and everything. And before, you've got all these things in your head and you want to, etc. But because now
you're more patient.
Now
right?
I have consultations in medical cannabis for 10, 15, 12 minutes. I'm not even saying anything. Literally. not saying it. I'm like, and then it's all okay. So okay, cool, okay, thank you. They've looked at my website, they've seen everything. They told me he was like, yep. I'm typing everything down, and then okay, cool. And then they're telling me, and I have such lovely conversations. I'm talking about, medical cannabis is such an amazing thing because it's not like, it's like a friend. It's like, like it's an accompaniment. It doesn't
their body who's saving their life.
Cannabis doesn't treat any ailments. Cannabis never has treated any ailments. It's actually being used to enhance people's oneness, connection to God, if you want to believe it, and enhance that's always been used with frankincense and all these things. So and for the 60, 70 years, because of alcohol, because of opium, because of benzos, because of antidepressants, and because of race control. That's why it got banned. That's why it's got banned. The stigma, the 3 stigmas that clearly.
Whoa, hang on. You're lumping in a hell of a lot of stuff there. How do you mean?
Sorry.
Did you say race control?
Yeah, obviously. Listen.
No. If it was obvious, I wouldn't be asking the question, would I? What do you mean by race control?
So cannabis has always been affiliated with. So let me go back a bit. So you had the prohibition in the US to 1910. Then what happened was prohibition ended. So you had all these police officers had nothing to do. They started to and the majority of people that use cannabis was blacks,
Mexicans, and blacks.
Exactly. So what they started doing. So what the US did. So they basically started going after because they had nothing to do, and then they started attaching stuff, and then obviously you had the civil rights movements, and then you had the Vietnam War, and you had the hippie movements and the LSD acid movements and stuff. So back then you had the 1960. The US set up a 1960 narcotic convention, right? Because what was happening back then, there was a lot of benzos. There was a benzo epidemic. The benzodiazepine was a major thing, but they're using for depression. But then they started realizing an epidemic. So antidepressants were created to counter.
Russ. I want to say one thing. It's very important. Sorry. It's very important. No, because this is this is just going to divert away, and he's not a historian.
No, I'll finish.
Give me a few minutes. Hold on. But you can if you want. I'm saying he's not a historian. He's a medical cannabis doctor. Do you understand what I mean? And I completely agree with his dichotomy.
If you're going to go, no, stop. All right, and just listen for a second.
We can bring on a historian, is what I'm saying.
Another time and find.
But there's 3 stigmas. Okay, there's 3 stigmas.
What I'm saying to you, doctor, is you cannot just say, just launch that and not expect to at least query on it. Not even a challenge.
Just one thing to throw out there. The name marijuana, was created by the American government because cannabis sativa L sounded too English and white, and marijuana is a Mexican derivative term. Now, the war on marijuana created marijuana, created this narrative which basically personified and objectified Native Americans and Indians and Black people as being this, it kind of encapsulated that part of society which wasn't seen as white, and it was seen as white and other. So I understand what you're saying, but we will bring a historian on, Russ. We'll bring a historian on for this. Doc, what I wanted to ask, there's more important things that you can talk about than cannabis history. So what I want to say, which one? I've got a few questions.
Well, so the cannabis history, I just want to go into the reason why the 3 associations right now. 3 associations, because it's pertinent to me. 3 associations that are attached to criminality, race, and socioeconomic status with cannabis. You ask anyone subconsciously, that's what they'll think. Blacks and chavs, if you want to put it in a different way. When you can racially profile, police officers, when they racially profile those 3 things, and most of 95% of British society, subconsciously, these are the 3 steel-like, chain-like stigmas that are attached, and it's stopping and preventing medical cannabis from, and that is the issue here. This is why I'm fighting the cause, and this is why, and in Manchester, I told you, these are the things that were attached to my area, and like I said, and so I was privy. I grew up with those three stigmas attached, and these were created to control. To 1961 Immigration Act, 1971 drugs. These were created to control immigrants that were coming in, and they were started saying that psychosis.
You're stating this as a fact, and this
I
just
tried
sounds
to
like
stop this
I'm
conversation.
sorry, this just sounds like propaganda to me.
That's why. Listen.
I'm really not buying this.
Let's stop. Let's reverse. Okay,
No,
let's go back to where I wanted this conversation to go, and that's why I said we'll bring on a historian.
No, I mean, you're not a historian. You're a doctor, and I'd much
rather. But I'm writing a book about this. I'm writing a book about this.
Well, fine.
I've looked into
then maybe we'll get you back on another
I'm writing
show.
articles in my barns. I'm writing a book about this.
No, it's a very long conversation.
I'm trying to get a word in here. So just hold on, the pair of you, if you'd be so kind. All right, just wait. Otherwise, this is confusion, and it's chaos, and that's not what I want on this radio show. When you've written your book, come back, and Ollie and you can talk about your book. What you're here, preferably to talk about, is the medical use. We don't want a history lesson. And we don't want a potted history of what you're claiming is your race relations view of the drugs industry. That's in your book. That's another matter. But that's not really why Ollie wanted you here. Okay? So if we could just bring it back to where we wanted it, then we can have which was a very interesting and far-reaching conversation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone. So, so this whole thing, which which before that thingy, like it was very interesting to hear the viewpoints of a psychiatrist talk about the position he held previously and how his position has changed. I've heard you say several times that you're on this mission to make the cannabis narrative change. You're on this mission to change the way people think about cannabis. You're on this mission to change the way other doctors perceive cannabis, etc., etc. Like, why is this so important to you? You already help so many patients and you already help so many people. Why are you trying to also encourage other people to do the same? Do you not think that in time they're just gonna come over to the green side anyway? Like, why don't you focus more of your time on helping more people as opposed to focusing your time on educating and disseminating education across others?
Well, first of all, I was going to just quickly mention the stigma is something that's pertinent to me, and this is something that I want to change. Medical cannabis is the most incredible medication that I have ever heard or witnessed or seen. I have never heard anyone ever say not even 90% of the things that people achieve with medical cannabis. These guys that come to me at the end of the tether, they've tried all sorts of medications, they've gone all through the therapies, they've got all these conditions, pains and things. And within a space of a week, they try one flower, and they're coming back to me saying their life has changed. The pain has disappeared. Their mood is better. They can function again. All these schemas that dictate their every being, every existence from traumas or upbringing and things that, I'm not good enough. I am not this, or I am this, or, they completely disappeared because that's your limbic system. There's a lot of cannabinoid receptors there, that's where you're learning and memory. So it works in that way, and it's amazingly, it's just absolutely incredible how it works. People are sleeping 7-8 hours a day instead of getting nightmares or trauma and not able to fall asleep. People say that they've not slept for 20 years as well as that first night. People are not spiritually connecting to God, or they're functioning. They're doing masters or PhDs. There's a few people they were just sitting in their house for 2 years. And suddenly they're out and about. They got girlfriends. What? Wow.
They got lives.
They've got lives. But the greatest benefit. Let me just finish. The greatest benefit is not just to them. It's to their relationships. The people, the mother, the father. They're able to forgive people that have really hurt them. They're able to do things that they would never, ever, ever thought they could. The mentalization, the forgiveness capacity, the compassion, not only for themselves and the forgiveness for themselves, but others. And, and the families have come on later and thanking me. They're saying, Dr. Ahsan, he was sitting in his room for 2 years and you've done this. And I've never heard that about medications in my entire life. So that's why I have to change the narrative.
You're actively prescribing now, right? So how many patients do you currently have?
Last time I had like 1,700 or something like that.
And how quickly has that grown from one?
That was this 2 years ago. That's when I started.
Mental.
And so that's just to be absolutely clear, from 0 to 1,700 patients you're prescribing cannabis-based.
I'm writing about 600 scripts a month, roughly 600.
Well, my question still stands. From 2 years ago, from nothing to now, that's an extraordinary
achievement,
isn't it?
And there's 1,700 people. 1,700 people he's actually helped. What I don't understand is if you've helped 1,700 people in the last 2 years, now you're doing things like writing books, and now you're doing things like writing papers. That obviously detracts away from patients you can help, right? Would you not want? Well, okay,
no,
so you still have all
the
time
those patients,
in the world.
But I'm doing the writing in my own time. When I'm not working. No, of course not. This is the whole thing is it's all from intention. It's from, like you say, my heart and soul. The only way the narrative is going to change if I write these articles. You're going to get more people reading about it. You're going to get more doctors that are going to learn and be comfortable. I'm doing it with Mike Barnes as well, so it's going to be respected. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the mainstay, because no one is doing this. Everyone's just working in the field, and no one's doing this. And
what do you think you do differently to other doctors then? And what makes you think differently from other doctors? Why are you doing this and no one else is doing this?
Very few doing it.
Very few.
Should I tell you my faith? That's why. So I don't know if anyone else got faith. I've got very strong faith. So I think that is.
And how does your faith then filter down through to your work? Briefly, because we got like 4 minutes. So how does your faith filter down?
Basically, I'm not seeing as a doctor anymore. I am a person that is going to facilitate someone's well-being in life. That's where I see it. And I think cannabis has always been used, if you look at, always been used for enhancing people's faith. And I think faith is the basis to do good. And you can only do good, are good. And so it's my mission to really spread this, because I think through faith we can be compassionate and empathic and stuff. And I think cannabis really accesses that. And so many patients they've connected to that through medical cannabis, and I'm trying to enhance that. And if most of British society had that same level of compassion, we wouldn't have most of the problems in the world. So that's my mission.
When we're saying faith, I wish we'd have done this at the front end of the show, because it's like an hour's conversation on its own. The faith is a religious faith, or it's a spiritual faith? Which is
faith? Faith is not owned by any religion. Faith in a religion is an expression of your faith. So but faith is basic, really. Faith is relationships. How you use your tongue, how you use your word, how you treat others, how you charity, basically ritual, but ritual through a deeper sense of meaning, and mainly relationships. Actually, that's basically the essence of faith, really, to me. My appreciation of faith. And how you use your tongue, because people who don't have faith,
all Russ wanted was my religion is. That's what Russ wanted. But
my religion is Islam. I'm Muslim.
No, you're many things.
I'm Muslim.
Many things.
You want to say I'm Muslim?
Yes, I get that. Obviously. So I know I'm just curious how this all marries up, because there's a lot of things which are running in parallel to your work.
Look,
and so
let me just go back to Let me go back to the beginning. Cannabis has been used to enhance people's faith, right? There was a temple that they found in Israel. One altar had frankincense, the other altar had cannabis.
Yeah, I read that.
They're two different, you know what I mean?
You even get a look in.
So basically, cannabis is so. It's just obvious. Cannabis is, and all the patients are telling me, the patients that I'm seeing are telling me that it's doing this. So and just a no, you feel it. It's just like energy, it's like I've been given a light, something that I need to do. So that's why, and it comes from my faith, basically.
Okay. I think it's incredible how many patients you've helped, man. I think it's really amazing.
That's the thing that's running around my head, because that's the most as a doctor of any of the medical people that we've had over the 95 weeks, you've got the most patients.
That's it.
I mean, patients as in people, not the most patient, because I'm not saying you're the most patient guy, but I'm seeing you with the most patients.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been fascinating. We are right out of time. When's your book coming out?
It's a long study. It's going to take 2 or 3 years. But we're doing a study, part of it and stuff.
When it's done, Dr. Taz, I'm going to call you Dr. Taz because I think it sounds catchy. Or Dr. Ahsan, which would be better.
Yeah, Dr. Sam's fine.
Come back.
Thank you.
And Ollie will get you. It's been most interesting. You've touched on so many things.
Thank you so much.
We couldn't even cover it in 60 minutes. Ollie, you find these amazing people every week without fail. Extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Dr. Ahsan, thank you so much. You can look him up on Twitter. He's all over the place. It looks good. We will be back Thursday at the same time. Until then, try and stay out of trouble, will you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.